We're getting there. All right. All right, we are live. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining. Grab yourself a coffee. Corey and I are going to sit here. I knew Corey was going to show up in a hat, so just so everyone knows, I literally have 18 hats sitting on the floor next to me. I'm going to cycle through these hats, Corey, just for you. We'll pick which one we like the best. Do you like that?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I had to go with the Sundance hat, right? We were all up there at the end of February. That was the last little bit of normalcy we had for a little bit. So I had to go with this one.
Some of the folks that are pinging me right now trying to find this. Yeah, I will. I promise you, I'll cycle through all of these at some point or another.
I'm curious to see what you got.
That's a horrible looking hat. We're going to get rid of that one.
Yeah, I couldn't pull that one off.
Yeah, I couldn't either. Yeah, couldn't either. I have more than enough. More than enough. We'll be fine. All right, so we got folks flying in. Everybody, I am desperately trying to be good and stay on time, which I'm horrible at and well known for that. I messed my hair up now. Now I'm self-conscious, Corey. I have that hair thing. You know,
go with this haircut.
I've been so tempted to do that over this because I desperately need a haircut. I know y'all can't tell because it looks expertly coiffed, but in the back, as Corey knows, I have a bald spot like a Benedictine monk from the 12th century. So I have this mound of hair all around my head, and then suddenly it's like the Grand Canyon. It just disappears. And there's this spot. It's just glaring. And the longer my hair gets, the worse my my acknowledgement of my bald spot is. All right. So with that great bit of news, let's go ahead and start. Everybody, as you keep coming in, do me a favor. If you like it, hit the like button. Just smack that like button like crazy. You got questions, you have comments, you like the hat that I'm wearing, which I will change them repeatedly. Let me know which one looks like the best hat. Corey always wears hats. Oh my God, Corey always wears hats. So good morning. Oh. What is today? Today is
Wednesday, April 8th.
Wednesday, April 8th. Good Lord. This is the 8th episode of FinTech Insider, The Breakfast Show. It's from the folks from 11FS, bringing you interesting insights into the fintech and banking landscape. Again, we've changed the schedule this week. We've moved it to 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, 3:30 in the UK. Using that as more of a brunch show, if anything. I'm Sam Maule. I'm the managing director for 11FS for North America. I'll be the host for this. The idea, we're all going to be cooped up together over the next couple of weeks. Why not get good people on across the U.S. to talk banking and fintech as we go through the COVID-19 crisis. So today I'm happy to be joined by Corey LeBlanc. He's the Chief Digital and Innovation Officer at Origin Bank. We're going to take a look and discuss who Origin Bank is, what the impact of the COVID-19 crisis has been on them, how banks can help their customers go through this, how to pick a good hat, how many tattoos he has.
Yeah, all the stuff a while ago.
All the stuff you should be experts at. Why are you called the Inked Banker, Corey?
I'm called the Ink Banker because my wife picked that little moniker. She thought it was very descriptive of who I am. Not even because I was in the military, right? I was always fascinated with tattoos and storytelling, if you will. And so I've been really big into kind of telling my story through my tattoos. And so, yeah, I have 2 full sleeves of tattoos and a few others. I'm not completely covered. I think Cassie would kill me if I went too far. But I got the things that I really, really like. The funny thing is when I first started doing the tattoos on the arm, she said, you know, you do work for a bank, right? You have to be professional. So I spent 3 years wearing long sleeve shirts just to prove to her that I could.
So I made it a decade in the military without a single tattoo or piercing. Nobody seems to believe that. Honestly, nothing. I don't know why. As I'll be honest here, as drunk as I was on multiple occasions in foreign countries, none of my friends took advantage of me during that time. So well done to my shipmates. I said this early as the show started. I will be switching hats just about every minute to keep up with Corey because he looks so good in his hat. So as you see me changing hats, that's why, because I am so damn bored. I can't stand myself right now.
Hopefully not with the conversation.
Not with this conversation, Corey. Oh my God. But just with the whole scene. All right. So one, do me a favor, introduce yourself as far as kind of what your background was. How did you come to your role as a Chief Innovation Officer and Chief Digital Officer at Origin Bank? Kind of walk us through your career. Just give us a quick snapshot of that.
Yeah, so we mentioned Cassie a few times. Met her when I was actually 15, started dating, got married by the time we were 18, had both our kids by the time we were 19. So we did what smart people do when they need to get college education, went in the military. So originally went in thinking I was going to go into some sort of law enforcement piece. I was going to start kicking in doors, eventually work into like DEA, something like that. But with my ASVAB scores, fortunately for me, my recruiter was a good friend of the family, and he said, "Look, you need to go into a different career field that's going to really set you up a little bit later in life." So they said computers or medical, which both are pretty applicable today. I picked computers. I'm a bit of a germaphobe, so I went down that path. And 6 years of working for the Air Force in Washington, D.C. and Colorado Springs, 2 DRU bases with Bowling and the Air Force Academy, doing a lot of cybersecurity, a lot of infrastructure development and overall IT management. Completed my master's degree and was kind of looking down the road of whether or not I was going to go and become an officer in the Air Force and keep pushing. At the time in 2007, military was doing some force shaping. I decided to try my hand at the civilian world, and I had 2 options. I could go work for the Marines in New Orleans on some firewalls, or I could come work with a small little community bank in North Central Louisiana. At the time, we were Community Trust Bank. We rebranded in 2015. As you can imagine, as we grew into Texas, there's a lot of community and there's a lot of trust banks. And so we wanted to differentiate ourselves and rebranded as Origin Bank there in October 2015. Kind of my role with the bank started off network infrastructure, vice president of IT, and then eventually worked into the CTO role. About 2 years ago, as an organization, really started talking about just the financial landscape and kind of how can we continue to meet the needs of our customers on the channels that they choose. It's really, really important to us that we meet their needs, right? And it's not just about profit for us. And so I saw a huge hole and opportunity for me to help with my technology background and my understanding of how you take technology to really not necessarily just put it in place, but really align it and strategically plan it for future proofing. And so really start tackling, this more forward-facing technology focus. And so my role today now, really goofy title, Chief Digital and Innovation Officer. I got 2 titles in one. But essentially what that means is I'm working with all, lines of business to determine how we can use technology to efficiently grow the business and meet the needs of the customer.
So I just want to say while you were talking, the love I'm getting on LinkedIn for my Arsenal hat. Oh my
awesome.
God. I'm just, I'm feeling it right here, everybody. Thank you. If you're a Chelsea fan, you can quit listening now. If you're a Spurs fan, I can't flip you off. I'm thinking that. I love all of you. Again, for those of you watching, you got a question for Corey, got a question for myself,
Absolutely.
Put it in the comments, click on that like button like crazy. Love it. Share this with your friends. Corey, one thing I want to touch on, Origin Bank. Can you kind of give us an overview of the bank, right? Where's your footprint? What are your type of clients? What do you guys focus on?
Yeah, so we're a $5+ billion regional community bank that spreads across Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Louisiana, we're the I-20 Northern Louisiana corridor from Shreveport all the way through Monroe and those surrounding areas. In Mississippi, we're in the Jackson and Ridgeland markets, Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Went IPO back in 2018, in May of 2018 when IPO. Basically, we're focused on both consumer and commercial, just depending on our market share or our market space really kind of dictates where we're really focused in those specific areas.
So obviously on the consumer side, this is a good hat, by the way.
That's a great hat.
How about this hat in Edinburgh, everybody? Just so you know.
Yeah. Send that one to Cassie. She tells me I can't wear those.
Brad Pitt would. At least that's what I'm going with. Let's talk a little bit first about the consumer side for your customers, and then hit on the commercial side. So on the consumer side, what are you hearing from your customer base? I mean, obviously, with everything that's happening in the U.S. around, employment, loss of jobs, and everything else. I'm curious, how are you servicing your customers? Are your branches still open, or are you 100% remote now? How's that working?
So we're a lot remote, right? So most of our workforce is working remote, except for mission critical people. So our branches are still open. However, lobbies are closed. So all of our locations are open with lobby hours that are appointment based only. But we're serving those customers through drive-through, through telephone, online banking, mobile banking. We're obviously trying to get them to communicate with us if they need some additional support. We can schedule an appointment for them to actually sit down and talk with a banker. Most of our key critical bankers are still in the offices. They're social distancing. We're keeping spread out. So, for instance, I'm working remote just because our operations center is so dense, and we're even spreading those people out beyond that center. So we have people working in from our offices and some of our other vacant spaces. But we're doing the best we can to make sure that we're, first and foremost, keeping our customers and our employees healthy, and making sure that we can serve their needs as it comes up.
How's it going on the commercial side? I mean, all I read about, what feels like 24/7, is the payment protection program, the PPP as it's called, the small business loans that are out there. That just seems to be consuming both the press and my Twitter feed and everybody that I engage with. How are you guys managing that? Are you able to actually take loan applications down?
Absolutely. So it was tough, right? So the reason why it's consumed everybody, it was this constant changing of information and specifics, and we wanted to make sure that we could get out there and we could support and facilitate our small business customers as quickly and the best way that we possibly could, because it's important in our communities, not just a small business, right? These are people, jobs as well. So it affects the consumer and commercial space. And so last Friday, we were just like most community banks, trying to figure out the latest, greatest, and find out what those final revisions, everything that came out that Thursday was, and how we could participate. We were rolling and pushing as hard as we can. It's been amazing to see our underwriting teams and some of our leadership and the employees in those positions, and then all the way into the commercial lenders who have been working 15-plus-hour days since Saturday to make sure that we're physically getting every single customer we possibly can that needs this kind of help, as much help as we possibly can do at this time. And so we're putting loans through. We actually have over 450-plus loans already run through the system today. The fun part for us is, we started doing this as fast as we could, as soon as we had the guidance that allowed us to do it. But just like most other community banks, there's been some issues accessing the system, and so let's try to do that. So hence the really lengthy hours to make sure that we're able to accomplish as much as possible in a short period of time. We're also working with our core provider FIS and Numerated to streamline a process to get those loans moving a little faster, and also give us a little better visibility to the system and the processes after the fact. We should be rolling that hopefully out here in the next 24 to 48 hours, and just trying to figure it out like the rest of them.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is changing. It feels like hourly or daily. Like my hats. I'm changing my hat because Corey always wears a hat. Corey and I know each other. Corey always seems to have a better hat than me, so I'm running through my whole collection. Just go with it. And Alexander Gillette. Alex, quit judging me. All right? This is a nice looking hat.
That's a good Florida hat. That's a good Florida Everglades hat.
This is a good Florida 53-year-old man cutting his grass wearing White Sox hat. And so
I was trying to give you a little more credit.
I'm not. A couple of good questions, actually, that are out there that are coming in. And I do think this is interesting. In your role, and we'll come back to where we stand with the loans right now.
Sure.
But in your role, when you're looking at, again, you're a bank based in Louisiana, but you're covering Texas and other areas, connecting distributed banking and fintech APIs. How hard is that for you, right? I mean, I know you're using FIS. I think you said was your core provider. Mm-hmm. For a bank your side, I mean, how large of a staff do you have in the technology side that can kind of drive APIs and hooking in with different fintechs and different providers?
Yeah, so we have about 13 to 15 IT personnel. Most of those people, but most of those people are handling, internal IT, network systems, infrastructure, and all those things. So look, as a $5 billion organization, we are limited in staff that has coding and engineering capabilities. And
Yeah.
so we do rely a lot on third-party help, as well as some partnerships and strategic relationships that we've created over the past couple of years to help us kind of get where we need to be. Because the big thing for us is helping our customers, again, through those channels that they choose, means that we also have to be able to control our roadmaps in that. And so fortunately for us, FIS does have the APIs and stuff to connect into our core system. They're evolving that, and we're working with those teams to try to capitalize on every opportunity to keep advancing.
Oh, good question. You ready for this one? All right,
Let's
Corey.
go.
You didn't know you're going to get these when you were coming on, man. These are good. All right.
I love it.
And I love the quote. Steve Jobs famously cautioned people against confusing features for platforms. And oh, Corey, I know you love this concept. All right. When you look, our challenger banks and fintechs, so we'll look at Chime, Marcus, Moneyline, Aspiration. Are they merely building features that will get folded into incumbents like Origin, or are they truly platforms that can threaten incumbents?
I think
going there early today. I like
that's a good, solid question. I think time's going to tell for a number of those institutions. But I do believe that banks, traditional banks and FIs, have an opportunity to really dictate that a little bit. So for the most part, I think a lot of it is creating affinity through feature right now for a lot of those institutions. So what they're doing is they're simplifying processes through the digitization of, somewhat legacy ways of doing things that most banks handle today. The problem is if you look at most of those institutions, there's a number of things that are kind of missing for the full relationship. And so there's still this disparate, spread out, full banking picture for most consumers or most commercial spaces, just the customer, right? So I think if we're able to work with the right partnerships and start to try to consume some of those things, we can dictate whether or not they're going to be truly influential, whether or not they're going to be more successful or grow or push banks out of the market. I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I think the banks are well positioned, especially here in the U.S. They're well protected.
Yep.
Right. I mean, good on Lending Club for acquiring Radius Bank.
Great.
Good on Varo getting their provisional license. I mean, there was news yesterday that Movin, so Brett King's neobank that he had started. God, I don't know, back. I mean, it's been around for a while. They've shifted. All right, they're moving more into being a platform or a provider behind the scenes. But Brett King did an announcement yesterday where he told his customers, recommended them to go over to Borrow Money. So you got one fintech working with another fintech. So good on them for doing that. But I still believe that banks are well positioned and well protected, well insulated, well capitalized in the U.S.
Yep.
But what I will say is a lot of them are not well positioned when it comes to being able to move rapidly. All right. So we talk about APIs, right? We talk about, I had Wade Arnold on last week, right? Talking about open source.
Wade is awesome.
Wade is awesome. And Wade has some killer hats, by the way. Wade, love you too, man. Alex Gillette has no hat game. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. Just
None.
Annoy him. None. But yeah, I do think if there is a bit of an Achilles heel or an area we need to work on, it is that ability to quickly connect, right? And ramp up and test.
Well, I think that's what, if you look at today, right? So the big thing that I keep hearing out there is the discussion around whether or not the focus needs to be on physical interactions and meeting the needs of the customers that are present today, or do we still push towards fintech and starting to drive technology, or do we take a step back from that and really prioritize? And I think the problem is that we really should be doing both, right? Because I think that it kind of goes back to, and 11FS touts this very, very well, is the jobs to be done, right? It's meeting the customer's needs. Yeah. But I think as financial organizations, we absolutely have to be on the ground floor in any way, shape, or form that we possibly can, while also being nimble with technology, but leading with that relationship, leading with that customer need, and really sticking to our values and understanding our why. And right now, the why for most people are just kind of coming together as a team to deliver funds to small businesses and make sure that we're keeping people with payrolls to survive. But there also needs to be a balance within organizations where you have the right teams and right people at the table, so you still have some people looking towards what's that next iterative step to continue to expand our capability, or at least start to drive or push faster once we come out of some of this. Because if not, then we're just going to be slow to meet some of those needs. I do think that the behavior and what customers expect to interact is going to be changing a little faster than what it was before. We were already seeing a preference to go to digital in a lot of instances for specific needs. I think that's going to increase, right? The way that people physically want to be in close contact with people may change, and we just don't know that yet. And so I absolutely think that sitting down and having the right conversations today is going to be really important to make sure that when we start to take those next steps, that we can move a little bit faster than we have before.
Yeah, this kind of aligns with this topic. This is from Jeff Dillon. Good question. Does your organization outsource some of your process operations? And has your operations been impacted through quarantine? And I think that's a question across the piece for everyone, right?
Yeah. So no, our operations is fully in-house right now. And so it absolutely is. Yeah. So it absolutely has impacted our operations from a sense of, the social distancing and trying to keep people healthy. And fortunately for us, we haven't really had any instances where we've had anybody sick and have to go home. So we're going to knock on wood and make sure that hopefully that doesn't happen. They're just pushed really hard right now to make sure that we're continuing to facilitate what operations and back office is supposed to support, which is the customer, but also the bankers, so that they can get out to the customers and help them quickly. Obviously a huge strain, but we got a great team over there. Our chief operations officer, Debbie Williamson, she's been with the organization for a really long time, and she knows operations like the back of her hand, and she is doing an amazing job managing that as best as we possibly can.
All right, so I gave Alex Gillette a hard time. He's at Even Financial in New York. We love Alex, and we love Even Financial. Love their CEO. He was on our show before. He asked a really good question. So a lot of agents, brokers, marketplaces in the SMB space are having trouble finding banks to fund these PPP loans because the banks have enough organic flow demand already. So what's the denominator for a regional bank in general? And how do you particularly decide whether you're going to work with an agent or not? Ooh.
I think we're still trying to figure that out. So for us, that's not something we're necessarily having the conversation around doing just yet. What we're trying to do is do the best we can to facilitate the customers that we have. We're reaching out to them. We're having them reach out to us, and we're pushing through. Right now, we're able to keep up. It's a ton of work. And hopefully these new processes, some of these other stuff that we'll be putting in with Numerate and some of these other pieces will help with some of that. But yeah, I think that's going to be organization by organization, and depending on what they're really wanting to do and where they're wanting to go.
And I'll tell you what's tough about that. That's why obviously you're a decent sized bank, right? To have that many folks in your IT team. Because I know I've had Kurt on from Tab Bank. We've had Jill on from Citizens Bank of Edmond. So different sizes, obviously. Of those, Origin much bigger. You guys are north of $7 billion in assets, if I remember right.
5 plus.
5 plus.
They're
good
$5 billion.
size. Yeah, so a decent size regional bank, I guess I would call you.
Yep.
So how you engage and where you focus resources, because back to our military, right? How you allocate resources. Where do you put them when you're in a firefight? When you put them when you're under pressure? And that's distinctly where we're at right now, right? I mean, Kurt had talked about with Tab Bank of certain product lines they had to put on hold to shift to focus on the SMB side. Jill talked about she only has 55 employees total, you know? So where do they focus and what do they do? So how's that been for y'all on resource allocation?
Oh, it's just been a strain. And so there's a number of key projects and stuff that we've been looking at. So me and you have talked a lot about strategy and some of the things that I'm wanting to do and what as an organization we're looking at possibly doing to enable our customers just a better digital platform. But a large majority of those big projects have been put on hold temporarily as we refocus some things, because we were on a management call actually this morning, and our CEO was having a conversation about the fact that we have a ton of talented people that have stepped up and moved into positions that they don't necessarily have experience in just to help out, right? And so that's what's happening today is, you look at project management teams, you look at total just IT resources, and everything's committed to making sure that we're meeting those customers' specific financial needs today so that they can stay in business, so they can keep moving, so they can keep that payroll so our customers are secure. And then some of those bigger projects may be pushed out a little bit further. And then we may have some new projects that come in between, right? So I was talking to Derek Sutton yesterday with Autobooks. Great guy. Love Derek. And we were just kind of talking about the fact that, now that we're sitting back and really looking at things, never has there been an opportunity for financial institutions to really truly understand what their digital capacity is than right now. We spent, I've been here 13 years. We spent about 11 of those 13 years working on building internal infrastructure and networking. So when we had to start sending remote workforce out, it wasn't a problem for us. We actually had everything in place that was needed. And so really it was more just laptop allocation was the biggest strain that we had. But for the most part, we were able to support that. And so you keep looking at, well, what's the next? What's the next? And so you start looking at lobby closures and appointment schedulers and how do customers actually schedule an appointment with you if they can't physically come in and talk to you, right? And so looking at things like that. And so I think there's going to be some deviation from what we probably had strategically planned at the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. But I think that we got to continue to dissect that and make sure that we're prioritizing that customer need and the bank focus first, and then the technology just can be an accelerator to that as we put it in alignment properly.
Well, speaking of Derek Sutton, of course he asked the question. We do love Derek. Derek was on, I think, last week from Auto Books. Derek, previously from Banno, had worked with Wade Arnold, just a really sharp guy. He asked a really good question. So you're going to get the Jacksonville Suns, our local minor league baseball team, that I am dying to go to a baseball game.
For a guy who doesn't wear hats, you have a lot of hats now.
Oh, dude, I haven't even started yet. You would not believe this. Bald spot. Got to cover the bald spot. All right. So Derek Sutton, good question. Will the pandemic offer as a catalyst to focus more attention on digital banking, or most banks revert back to business as usual as time moves on and stay more dependent on service in a branch? I think this is a wonderful question, because will a massive event like this actually change individuals' behavior, or is this just a short-term bump? It's a good question.
I think that it's going to have to change behavior, because I think that for the most part, what you're seeing is there's going to be a very glaring need that we're going to notice. It's going to be different between organizations. Some people have been doing well in certain areas, and so they were more prepared than others. But I think if financial institutions want to be able to compete, want to be able to stay relevant, we're going to have to be able to focus on at least some form of digital transformation. And for me, that's a bit confused in a lot of instances for most financial institutions, for most just businesses in general. And they look at digital transformation as just this implementation of technology, and that's not what it is. It's really about taking your mission, your vision statements, and your company direction and your customer focus, and aligning technology with that. Again, that job's to be done. But I think that there's going to be a number of organizations, and I think we're seeing it already, where they're starting to reach out to these fintech providers to say, hey, can we get help in some of this stuff? And the fintech community has been doing a phenomenal job in offering free service in some instances to try to get some of this going. I think that's that olive branch that hopefully will initiate some further conversations. Because I think if we don't, right, then I think we're gonna fall short of meeting the needs of everyone as we come out of this and helping them really get financially healthy and strong.
I'll give you my view on that, because I agree with you. I think why this is a little bit different of an event of, say, 9/11 or the dot-com crash, or even 2008. What we're seeing more and more of, and what we're anticipating, is a second wave and a third wave of this, right? I was reading today that, obviously this fall, we're expecting to, life will go back to some level of a new normal. I think from what I'm reading this summer, maybe a little bit later, but come fall, winter, we're going to see a second wave of this, and even potentially a third wave before we get a vaccine and be able to address this. So if there was ever a time within our industry to step up and have people in roles like yourself, right? That so Corey, just deal with it. I'm going to give you some praise right now. Corey, I've been telling this over and over again to people. Corey's the type of individual we need in the industry. Derek Sutton, or Derek is one, right? There's quite a few across the piece. Leaders like Jill Castillo,
absolutely.
Analysts like Ron Shelman, right? Companies like 11FS, so like that. Get us in there. Those that really do want to get in and get the system moving. Quit talking about this nonsense. We've talked about this forever and a day, and so many of us, like yourself, that are in the right position, are tired of talking, right? And we're well past that time. It's time to get stuff done. You've got to thing right behind you that says "Get it done,"
Yeah.
which I love. That little sign behind you.
Yeah.
We say that at 11FS all the time, right? Let's get shit done. Enough talking.
Yep.
Do minimal lovable products, get small bits out there and get moving. We've seen companies do that. MX today just announced, I think it was yesterday, announced that they put a portal up, right? They've actually got a system up so banks can take advantage of it and get plugged in. Autobooks talked about new products that they've pushed out the door. Every guest I've had on here has done some incredible work and moved fast, right? Little Jewel Castillo and her bank, the fact of the number of loans they've been able to process. The same with you at Origins. If there was ever a time to be motivated, to get moving, is now. Yeah. And I think that's the onus on all of us is to push this forward, quit talking about it, and actually get some stuff done.
Yeah, and again, I want to reiterate, that doesn't mean that you're taking away from the physical interactions or relationships you have with your customer. If anything, it's expanding that, right? It's making sure that you're providing the services and the digital capacity or capability to not only your bankers, but also your customers to be able to service those needs and expand those relationships and make it even more meaningful than ever.
And, this is why, Corey and I talk, I don't know, every few weeks. We just get on a call with no set agenda, by the way, and just talk. There's a large group of folks in the industry. We used to meet up, right, at events. We're not doing that right now. But even just getting on the phone, talking about, all right, this is great. How do we get things moving? How do we find ways to work together to drive this stuff forward? And I will say for me, that's the one thing I've loved seeing come out of this is the willingness for companies of all scale and sizes. I mean, let's give Bank of America some credit. They rolled out their website and mobile app in 8 days. 8 days.
Pretty impressive.
And processed a shit ton, by the way, of loans. I think what they say is 10% of the total funds that are available, to the point where Congress
like
now
Saturday or Sunday, right? Who knows what it is today?
And now Congress, I think, came back yesterday, the Treasury has said they need another probably $250 billion because of the demand for small businesses. There's so many. There's 30 million of them, 30 million small businesses in the U.S. I believe the White House stated yesterday that roughly 250,000 have applied for a loan. That 250,000 is great. 250,000, 30 million. Consider how you do the math. You're the engineer. There's a long way to go. And it's going to take banks and companies of all scale and sizes, from Origin to Bank of America to Citizens Bank of Edmond to Tab Bank. You take your pick, local community banks, to work together to drive this forward.
Huge collaboration effort and opportunity, right? And, we rolled out this new vision statement at the beginning of this year, and I loved it, just in general. And originally, our CEO asked me, he said, you'd love it because it has innovative technology. So the vision statement is combine the power of trusted advisors with innovative technology to build unwavering loyalty by connecting people to their dreams, right? So there's really key words, right? Trusted advisors, innovative technology, loyalty, dreams. And I think that we launched it in January. It's so much more relevant today. And the word that I told him, I said, it wasn't innovative technology that I love so much. It was that trusted advisor, because if we can start there and it begins there, through collaboration, through technology, through physical interactions, we can get through this and we can help people rebound off of this, quicker than what they would otherwise.
Yeah, if there's ever a time for those words to be embraced, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Lessons learned from 2008: trust, empathy is everything. And I hate to say this, but we're out of time. I still have like 12 hats I could have done.
So you could just do a picture collage of all the hats that you didn't get.
I like this one. It's my flippy.
Send that on Twitter.
There you go. This is I feel like I'm in Louisiana when I wear this hat. I'm just going to go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. This is it's hot. I'm cutting the grass. I'm working hard. Makes my ears look big too. All right, folks, we are out of time. Everyone that had your questions out there, and there's a couple, there's a university student in the UK that asked a great question about, will we move to a 4-day work week? Good question, by the way. So questions on UBI, right? Universal Basic Income, and what's going on with Spain. I promise you, we'll take a look at those. We'll get to those. But for Corey, I have been pumping Corey out there as a speaker, as a writer, and everything else. He and his wife, Cassie, are a great team. What's the best place to learn more about the Inked Banker, Corey, and then Origin Bank?
Yeah, you just follow me on LinkedIn. Just Inked Banker, Corey LeBlanc, Origin. Follow me there. Twitter @InkBanker. Feel free to connect, message me if you have any questions, or you just want to have a conversation about something that we can discuss and try to figure out how we can start to move things forward for your organization, our organization, or just in general. I'm always open to the conversation and love it.
As for me, I'm Sam Maule at Thug Life. This is as close as I can get to trying to look semi-cool. It's not working. Sam Maule on Twitter, 11FS. Honestly, follow 11FS, man. The daily shows that David Brayer's doing and the team out of London are exceptionally good. The FinTech Insider podcast still flying out there. We're putting out content left and right. Our new head of research, Benjamin Esnor, we came over from Forrester, wrote a great book, wrote a great blog post on banking and COVID-19 and responses. So everyone, thank you so much for engaging. We really appreciate this. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sure.
So you like this one?